Something that a lot of us are working on or saying we're working on in 2020 is personal growth. But what does personal growth actually mean?
I was kissing you with my eyes open.
Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Lauren, and I'm a film student at Temple. So yes, I'm batching these videos, this and some other My Film Friday videos, because classes are starting soon and I'm just trying to get things out of the way so that I can just plunge right into my academia. And I think that's part of, managing my time, and I think that in a way is personal growth, even though I'm also generally pretty good at time management, but I don't think that means that I can't grow in that anymore. So a good way to tie in why I'm wearing the same outfit in 3 videos now. So I asked my Instagram followers, you can follow me here, what personal growth means to them, and I got a couple interesting responses, which I'm just going to show on the screen now. So shout out to my roommate's cat who likes sleeping on my bed. So cute. I took the answers I received, keeping in mind that pretty much all high school, college age students, and then used them as a jumping off point to do my own research. And most of it was I'd say I was looking at different growth Instagram pages, which I will try to link them all down below. I hope I didn't forget anybody, and just some general articles. So I've determined a few things, and I just want to start with some nice words that I found from a post from So You Want to Talk About, and it was growth is what keeps us going on an individual level as well as a collective people. I think it has a really nice ring to it, which is why I wanted to include it in the video. Basically, when we want to work on ourselves and we actually take the time to do that, the impact goes way beyond just us. It impacts all the people around us in a ripple effect that, although may not be discernible to us, still exists and can be very powerful. I think these ripple effects are especially important in a time like now, because there are so many ways in which I think a lot of us want society to change, but that change starts with me. It starts with you. It starts with us. If we're not going to change for the better, who is, basically? Even though in this video I am going to be talking about some general ways that I think personal growth can be seen and worked on, there are an infinite number of ways to grow. Personally, everyone has their own standards and metrics, and personal growth looks different to everybody. And I think that's something that's kind of a good thing, because we're all coming from different places. We're all coming from our own life experiences and values and beliefs. So there is no one size fits all solution when it comes to attaining personal growth and working towards it. So if this video feels like it's not exactly hitting home for you, then I apologize, but I was just trying to get the vastest, I'm not sure if that's a word, the broadest categories to talk about. The big one, I think, is in order to grow, you have to acknowledge that you're not there yet, you're not there at all. You have to be able to say, okay, I was wrong about something. And I think for some reason we have a lot of pressure to always be right, and that's just not possible. And to be able to say, okay, I was wrong about something, that acknowledgement is a powerful, powerful thing, and you should be proud of yourself when you recognize that you were wrong or you are wrong, and you're going to strive to make things right. Also, from the So You Want to Talk About, I noticed that that account looked into the clinical psychologist Dr. Kate Kaplan, who had some ways to kind of get better at acknowledging your faults. And I think the one that I liked the best was that just remember you're human. Everybody, as the famous words of Hannah Montana, everybody makes mistakes. Don't feel bad about that. I mean, feel bad maybe about the mistake, but don't feel like, oh, you made a mistake, you'll never get better, you can never change. Think about, okay, we all do this, we're all wrong about things. It's just part of being human, and that's okay, and I'm gonna make things better now. And that's great. I think that's exactly what you want to do. You also have to be willing to hear criticism, and I've definitely had to work on this a lot more as I've really gone into an arts field criticism on my work, which I'm now trying to apply those same strategies that I've worked on when it comes to me as a person, because you have to learn that, like, some people are going to think that you're being maybe close-minded, or you're saying this and that's not correct or not right. And you have to be okay to hear that. You have to be able to hear what people are frustrated about with you, hear their concerns, and not just immediately attack them. So I'm definitely working on that. I'm not by no means am I making this video to pretend that, like, I'm on, like, cloud 9 of personal growth. You know, I'm not there. But we just have to keep working on it. Then you also have to work on your self-awareness, because we have to look at ourselves without nice rose-colored glasses. We have to look and think, well, what does someone else see when they look at me? When you're in a situation, you gotta look at yourself as an observer. Don't justify all your actions or judge your actions. Just think, well, what are my actions? When I suddenly feel angry about something, instead of going, oh, well, it's okay to feel angry because of this, or why are you angry about this, self? Like, think, instead of getting attacky, think, okay, well, why am I angry? And don't do that in a self-aggressive way. Don't beat yourself up about this point. Just think, okay, well, why do I feel this way? Because until you're aware of something, you can't recognize it, you can't change it, you can't do anything about it unless you know that there's something there. In the same vein of self-awareness, think about what you value, not what people tell you to value, or what you've been taught to value, or what you know to value. Think about what you actually value when you feel at peace, when you're walking with integrity and knowing what you believe to be right and what your strengths are, because that is how you're also going to be aware. And once you're aware of what you value, you can think, well, maybe I don't want to value that. And then you can talk about it with yourself, with others, versus if you're just pretending you value something that you don't actually value, you're going to find yourself in conflict and turmoil a lot, and you can't grow from there because you're stuck in a stalemate. Along that vein, you have to be able to forgive yourself for doing something or saying something or believing something that you no longer believe or would say. Instead of, I'm not saying you have to go rejoice about it and like run around to the rooftops, but you understand that you were at a place and now you're at a different place, and be proud of that growth and say, it's okay, like, I've learned from this, I'm not doing that again, I understand it was wrong. But you have to be able to grow, because if you're never able to grow, then we're all just going to be stuck in a little pot, not blooming, not fun. And we have to also acknowledge, when it comes to personal growth, that we all have biases, and it is literally just human nature to have these implicit, unconscious biases in our lives. We can't do anything about that. But we can start using self-awareness to be attuned to ourselves, think about what those biases might be, and as long as we're not consciously ignoring them, that's a step forward. Thinking about, well, what... Sorry, I thought the cat moved. The cat didn't move. Thinking about, okay, well, why do I think this might be a bias I have? And addressing it, that's how you're gonna fix them, or maybe not fix them, is probably not the right word, but move past them and grow. But if you're just ignoring your biases, then we're living in a place of ignorance, and ignorance is not bliss. All of these topics are really interrelated, so I'm just saying, along with everything else I've been saying, also consider responding versus reacting. Obviously, reactions are instinctual. If I see a spider, I shriek. I do, I'm scared. Well, I should rather say, when I see a spider, that was actually a good example. When I see a spider, I'm afraid. My natural reaction instinct is to shriek. But sometimes, more often than not lately, I'm trying to get better at this, I can pause and be like, okay, it's 11:30 at night. It's not a good time to shriek. And that pause lets me respond in a more appropriate way. And was not able to do that until, honestly, a couple years ago, because I'm really afraid of spiders. And I know that's maybe like, okay, Lauren, what a stupid example, but I was just trying to come up with something that is easy to understand for a lot of people. My point was, like, we can't necessarily control our reactions, but we can control our responses. Those pauses can also help before you suddenly get defensive about something or get attacky. Just think, okay, well, what's the actual situation and what's the best way to handle this in a way that's not going to push people further apart, because that never helps anything. Along with the pushing people apart, instead of pushing people apart, we want to bring people closer together. We want to work on understanding other people and recognizing that we all have values and voices because we come from different places. And everyone has a different life experience, and that means that we can all learn from each other, and we can understand why someone feels the way they do about something instead of just going, oh, well, you're wrong because blah, and not actually letting them speak or say, well, how they came to that conclusion, because it's through that kind of dialogue that we can really grow together and understand maybe where we're all wrong. And I think that is the most powerful part about growth and dialogue, is when you work to understand other people, because through understanding others, you can grow as an individual. We have to unlearn things. I know that we spend so much time trying to learn things that it can be kind of like, oh boy, how do you unlearn something? And it's kind of like, I think, breaking a habit. At first, you really have to think about, don't do this. Then it just, becomes your new habit. So when you unlearn something, you're really just learning. I like to think of it as more like learning something new that replaces the other thing that you had already learned. And this can be hard though, because you have to challenge yourself and kind of wonder, well, those inner voices, like what things really are, or are they the voices that other people have poured into my head and told me things that I now believe are true when they maybe never were, and I never thought they really were, but I've been kind of brainwashed. So that can be really difficult, but just remember that no matter, everything you know at this point in your life, you have been taught, pretty much. So realize that you can learn new things, and there's space in your brain for that. You're never too old to unlearn something, and there's always a chance to learn new things. Some questions you can ask yourself is where do your beliefs come from? And are they sticking to your values, or do they stick to the values you wish you had? And I think that can be a little tricky, because I think everyone wants to think that they're nice, kind people who love their friends and family. And I think most people do in some ways, but it may not be as simple as that. And instead of pretending like you fit in with this mold that everyone just pushes at you, you should take a moment to think, well, what do I actually value? Maybe instead of specifically, I just love my family and friends, maybe I value time I spend with my family and friends. And you realize you really appreciate time and you value time. And I know this is another example that may not apply to everybody, or might be not an example that's maybe as relevant to the current movements that are going on, but I'm just trying to give examples that I think people can relate to. And then finally, you have to work on holding yourself accountable, because you're the only one that really can control your journey of self-growth. And that's just it. That's the fact of the matter. And I just want to reiterate this point that we're all always working towards personal growth. It is not the summit of a mountain that you can hike up and then you're there and then you can enjoy the view for the rest of eternity. That's not how that works. Instead, you're always climbing higher and higher. There's always another rung in the ladder, but you should never feel discouraged about that. And sometimes you might feel like you've fallen back a few rungs, but that's okay, because you can just take a moment and get back up there and keep going higher. I just want you all to know that I believe in every single one of you watching this video, and you need to believe in yourselves as well. If you're willing to share what personal growth means to you, or what some ways that you work on personal growth are, please feel free to leave them down in the comments. Please try to stay positive down there. I don't want anyone to attack anybody for their versions of personal growth, because, as I said, everyone has their own personal growth definitions, meanings, and how they can achieve that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. As I said, comment down below anything you want, and I will see you next time. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. Stay safe, happy, and healthy. Bye!